waking up from surgery, and the doctor is telling me, well, we are glad you had a successful surgery, but we are sorry to tell you that unfortunately we had to remove your uterus. I'm like, what? You had to remove my uterus? Why?
On the 13th of October every year, the world marks World Thrombosis Day to create awareness on deep vein thrombosis. We spoke to Dr. Harun Otieno, who is a cardiologist, to get a better understanding on the causes of DVT. So what is deep vein thrombosis and why is it important to understand and create awareness on?
So blood clots or DVT, deep vein thrombosis, typically arise in patients who may have risk factors that promote or that lead to the development of blood clots. So we divide the risks into three: major, maybe minor, then other risk factors. Major risk factors include things like hospitalization, surgery, major surgeries like orthopedic surgery or abdominal surgery, or even prolonged periods of immobility. Minor risk factors can include things like pregnancy, sometimes age above 60, trauma, for example, to the leg, and even hormonal pills like birth control pills. And then other risk factors, sometimes patients may have an inherited tendency towards forming blood clots, long distance travel, or conditions like varicose veins, which may promote the development of blood clots.
Beatrice Nyamache is a survivor and she shares her journey.
So my name is Beatrice Nyamache. I'm a HR and training consultant. My experience with DVT happened in the year 2010 when I was pregnant with my first child. During my 3rd month, I experienced some pain, like a muscle pull at the calf of my right leg. So I thought it was a muscle pull, and I wondered, because I had not done any strenuous activity for me to experience a muscle pull. So I said, well, I think the pain will go away. The next day when I woke up, the pain was worse. I couldn't walk, I couldn't sit, I couldn't do anything. The pain was excruciating. So when I looked at my leg, it was swollen, totally swollen, and I just needed the pain to be checked. So I went to the hospital. I had a doctor look at me, and the doctor suggested that I undergo a scan. So when I underwent a scan, they found out that I had a blood clot. So I was put under critical care, and I was observed for about 2 weeks, basically for them to go ahead and contain the blood clot, because the fear of the doctors were, if the blood clot dislodges from the calf and it moves to the lungs, definitely it will move up to the heart, and that means I will die. So the doctors managed to manage the blood clot through blood thinners. I was pregnant, and the only way that I could manage myself, because it was a matter of saving my life and saving my baby's life. So I was prescribed blood thinners to help me manage the clotting, the anti-clotting of my blood, because the issue is, when you are on blood thinners, that means you're trying to make your blood thin. You're trying to make your blood fluid enough for nutrients to move through. So when you have a blood clot, the possibility of it blocking the movement of these important nutrients in your body is critical. So I had to inject myself 3 times a day in my stomach, because it had to be a soft tissue. So throughout my pregnancy, it was not easy, because at some point I'll suffer from short breath. I had to keep on going to the hospital. I was on constant medical care. I had to keep on going to the hospital for them to make sure that my blood is is okay. At least it has thinned well enough. There was a level in which they will allow my blood to be on. If it was under, I'll stay in the hospital. So at some point I had to quit work so that I can be able to at least be monitored, because my pregnancy was getting to a critical stage. I underwent a C-section to have my baby, and it was a successful C-section. But later on I developed complications because my uterus got infected as a result of hematoma. Hematoma, basically, from my understanding, is when blood masses come together, and I think that's a blood clot. They come together and form, therefore putting you at risk. So for me, I developed a hematoma right after pregnancy because I was so much in pain. My right abdomen was so much in pain, and they kept on wondering, you've had a successful delivery, what is the problem? But unfortunately, I developed a hematoma. So after about 2 weeks, I had to undergo another major surgery for them to remove the hematoma. So the hematoma was successfully removed, but unfortunately, when they went to remove it from the uterus, they found that it had infected the whole uterus. So they couldn't save my uterus. So they actually had to remove my uterus. So it was a very traumatizing experience, because now waking up from surgery, and the doctor is telling me, well, we are glad you had a successful surgery, but we are sorry to tell you that you underwent a hysterectomy. I didn't even know what a hysterectomy was. So I said, what do you mean? What is a hysterectomy? Unfortunately, we had to remove your uterus. I'm like, what? You had to remove my uterus? Why? Unfortunately, we couldn't save it because the infection was all around. So to save you, we had to remove you. I also lost a relationship. Because there's a stigma. You can imagine a 29-year-old without a womb. My dating was affected. People didn't understand, and maybe people need to have more understanding of some of these health issues that happen, because you have no control over it. And as a result of that, I had to go ahead and sit and reevaluate my life and actually see what makes sense and what does not make sense. Because here I have a baby who needs me, I have a child who needs my care, my attention, and I like to say my DVT actually affected my journey, because I had greater plans. I wanted to pursue further studies, I wanted to do a few things, so it took me back a little bit, because now I had to sit, take care of myself. It was traumatic for my parents, for my family, because where do you pick up from? But here I am. The good side was my baby was healthy, alive, very handsome, and I had to be there for him. So I'll say one thing that helped me walk through that journey is seeing the smile of my child, him growing up, me playing a big role in his life. That helped me get through. So do I feel less of a woman because I don't have a womb? No, actually I feel more of a woman. I feel more energized, more beautiful. I feel like I have a lot to offer in life. I feel like I should enrich other people. I should enrich young girls. I should add value. I should add value to people.
Dr. Otieno sheds more light on the causes, symptoms, and prevention of DVT.
Common symptoms include pain, usually in one leg, swelling. You may also have tenderness, or discoloration or redness of the particular leg, of the limb. So when one has DVT, typical symptoms may be sudden onset of pain, swelling, or maybe discoloration of one of the legs, and then this would lead somebody to go to hospital. But unfortunately, many times these symptoms are overlooked or thought not to be significant. Well, what I'd say probably myths is that misconception, DVT is actually quite a serious condition, because if untreated, this can lead to something known as pulmonary embolism, or PE, and PE has deadly consequences. In fact, in Kenya, it's been shown that 28% of patients who have a pulmonary embolism, while on treatment, may actually die. So the mortality rate is actually quite high if one has a PE. So the myth, if you have DVT and you leave this untreated, then that can cause serious problems. It affects both men and women. Women may be at a slightly increased risk because hormonal risk factors play a role. Pregnancy too, we see DVT or PE in pregnancy as well. But men too are at risk. Cancer patients are frequently men or women. Immobility, you may find a man or somebody working at his desk for a long period of time, not getting up, not moving around. So that could also be both sexes. And surgery. Many men also have abdominal surgery or orthopedic hip or knee surgery. And these are increased risks for DVT.